Welcome to your Conscious Choices for Wellness podcast, hosted by B. Crutelli. This is a space for everyone to learn anything and everything related to healthy healing, including naturopathic medicine, music, dance, yoga, meditation, eco-fashion, mothering, and organic lifestyle choices. Topics for expanding universal consciousness. Come join me weekly as we delve in and begin this journey, sharing valuable content gathered over the past 3 decades, helping to support a healthier and more sustainable future for all. Hello and welcome to today's first podcast of 2025. Very, very excited for this year. Oh my goodness. I don't know, I have this feeling in my gut that this is going to be such a huge transition year for me and for many people out there. So much is going to happen this year. I just know it. I've heard some things, as I'm sure y'all have too. And it's pretty exciting. Trying to just stay positive about it all, because that's what you got to do. We got to spread more positivity so that collective energy will flow in the right direction for everyone. And I strongly believe this, and I know that there's a lot of us out there. And if you're listening to this podcast in particularly, you're probably one of those people of my tribe, and I love you. And I, kind of have just been trying to really listen to my intuition each week. I don't have like a plan per se. Like if I think of an idea of something that I want to talk about, I'll write it down. But I don't have a schedule of, oh, this week I'm going to do this and this week I'm going to do this. I know I have lots of things to talk about, so I'm not really concerned about content. And there are also some special guests that I want to have, at least one guest a month. So I will probably have a guest might not be next week, but maybe the following week, I will have a special guest. And I'm not quite sure which one, but I have a list of people that I've spoken to. And today's my birthing day, okay, of my 4th child. And I did say in my intro, I mentioned that one of the things I want to discuss is mothering. And so since today is my youngest daughter's birthday, Shayla Rose, happy birthday. She's at the movies with her boyfriend right now. She turned 17 this day. So yes, 2008. My last child was born. Okay, I'm still a young mom. I did have her in my 30s, but I'm getting up there a little bit, mid-age as I am. And she was born 17 years ago. And I mentioned to her, we went to her favorite cafe this morning. And afterwards I said, hey, we're walking back to the car. And I was like, I'm going to be doing my podcast of the week today. And I was thinking that maybe I would do it about your birthday, when you were born, and talk about my birthing experience with you. And she just kind of smiled. And, if she would have reacted negatively and been like, no, I don't want you to do that, or, something, or, I think it kind of made her feel good in a way. So I was like, all right, I got to do this, because maybe I'll do that, on the upcoming birthdays of my kids, my other three, which I have another one in 10 days, who's my oldest. He is turning the big 30. So maybe that's what I'll do on their birthday. And that will be kind of contributing to the mothering aspect of this show, because top priority of my life has been being a mom. That's been most of my life. I've loved and enjoyed being a mom. I miss having my kids at home. And Shayla, whose birthday is today, is in high school. She will be graduating in a year and a half, and she will be going off on her own, as she's very independent. And my other three were also very independent, and they left home and blossomed very well on their own and are doing really well out in the world. So 17 years today. Okay. We're in the winter season. So I vividly remember that day. And I'm just going to go into a little story mode here. She was born on her due date. Both my Capricorn babies were born on their due dates. The other two were a few days late. So I didn't know, you never know when you're going to have a baby, when you're going to have a baby, if your baby's going to come early or, your baby's going to come late. You just don't know, right? It's kind of up to the baby within you. And the night before, there was a big storm coming in. It was rainy and windy and cold, and there were trees falling down outside, roads getting blocked. And I was feeling something. I remember I was feeling that there was something happening, right? Because my due date's the next morning. But I didn't know for sure that I was going into labor yet. And I have to tell you that I had a midwife. Well, it was a midwife team. So there was two women who were a team. And I had spoken with them on the phone, and I knew who one of them was better than the other one just from in the community, but I had not met with them in person yet, because when you have a midwife, they come over for a home visit. They want to see where they're going to be and help you, with your birthing process and have a plan and all this, right? Well, they had not even come over to my house yet. And this is because I literally fired one of the midwives, and one of the midwives had fired me. So I had two other women before this during my pregnancy that I had connected with and that I thought maybe were going to be my midwife. But both of those fell through. And so pretty much like within the last month before my due date, I reached out to these other women, and they were on board. They were going to be my midwife team. They couldn't have another date before the due date to actually come over. And they probably didn't know, there was just no way they could have come over before because they were very busy. So they had an appointment to come over to the house that day and to do the home visit. Well, I don't know if they had thought, being midwives, that this is my fourth child and that there's probably a good chance that I'm not going to have this baby late. You wouldn't think so, right? But, what else could you do? That was the time. And also it was right after the holidays and everything. So I don't know what time they were supposed to come over that day. It was probably in the afternoon, because I called them in the morning, probably like at 9:00. And I fully knew by that point that I was in labor. And when I called them, pretty sure I got through. But I just remember it was very stormy outside. And we lived way far from town. And they also lived on the ridge. I'm pretty sure they both lived on the ridge. It's this area up above Nevada City that's, probably 25 minutes from a hospital. Might sound crazy to some of you mothers. or anybody out there, but yes, it was. And I was ready to have her on my own. Like, honestly, I actually felt like after the whole delivery that maybe I should have just did it on my own. But no, I did need them there. I did realize that I did need them there. But it's a lot of money, out of pocket to have a midwife, probably even more so now than it was 17 years ago. And I, got through or whatever. I don't know if I texted them or I probably called and said, I'm in labor. So the sooner you can get over here, the better. Don't wait till 2:00 because I'm already in labor. So they're like, okay, we'll get ready, we'll be over there soon. And so I'm just, kind of in labor, doing my thing, doing my breathing. I knew I wanted to have her in the bathtub. And we had a big bathtub, which was really nice. So I was like, I just want to be in the tub. I don't think I'd ever been able to do that with my other three. So I really wanted that. And I also wanted my other three older children to be there. And I remember asking all of them, and I thought it would be really cool for them to be there and watch their sister be born. Honestly, did I know she was a girl? I must have known she was a girl. Trying to remember now, did I actually get checked? And because I'm not really opposed. Like if you have an ultrasound and they ask you if you want to know if it's a boy or a girl, I usually want to know. I think most moms probably do, but I feel like I did know she was a girl, or maybe I just intuitively knew. And I didn't have a for sure name, or I should say her dad and I, had kind of discussed it a little bit. Maybe we didn't know for sure. I just kind of thought maybe it was going to be a girl. And so that's why we didn't pick the name for sure. Anyways, so interestingly enough, her oldest sibling, who is also a Capricorn, he's born 10 days after her, but 13 years prior. So he's going on 13, right? 12 going on 13. He's the only one that doesn't want to be there. He's just like, no, I don't want to be there. That's crazy. No, I don't want to be there. And so I'm like, okay, you can't force him. So he was at his dad's, and my other two, who were 11 and 8 at the time, my other son who's 11 and my other daughter, it was 8.5 years old. They were both fine with being there. So they were both there, and they were just kind of sitting, off to the side. And they still have memories. We talk about it sometimes, of mom screaming and, I don't think they watched the whole birth, but they were there with me for a little bit. And then they kind of went in the other room. And I remember them talking about the cat, because the cat was kind of like, what the heck is happening? Like kind of freaking out. And the cat was like right outside the bathroom, kind of on these stairs, just like sitting there, like, what is going on? And so anyways, the midwives didn't get there probably until about maybe by 11 o'clock they were there. And I was fully in labor then. Like by that point, I was like fully, just they got there, they have a little setup to do, and they checked me. And, most of you women probably know what that means. I'm not going to go into the details of that. But when they checked to see how dilated I was pretty much ready. I was just like almost there and like ready to start pushing. And that's what they said. And I was like, okay, I was feeling that. So, probably about half hour later, I was pushing. I'm in the bathtub. Her dad's in the bathtub with me with his clothes on. I think, well, because these other women are there, right? So he's like, just kept like his pants on. And I remember his phone was like in his pocket and he didn't know. And so he was like in the bathtub with his phone in his pocket, and his phone got like broken or something. And about a half hour into pushing, I was like, something's not right. I, just could tell like she would be coming out. Like I just, and I didn't know these women super well. Like they hadn't even been over for the home visit yet. We didn't know each other super well. So I basically said, and I think the one woman was training at that point. Like she's way more experienced now, obviously, but at that point she was in training. Like she hadn't been a midwife for very long, but the other one had been for several years. And so I literally asked them, I said, something's not right. Like, please check me again and see what's going on. And so they did. What they found out when they checked me was that my cervix was all dilated, right? It was to 10, which is when it's to 10, they tell you that you can start pushing when it's comfortable. But they didn't tell me or check before they said that I could start pushing that my cervix hadn't effaced, which means that it thins out. And when it's 100% effaced, then the baby can come through. So they had to basically, like on my next push, they had to like reach in and like kind of help her head, like take the cervix around, like push it off to the side. So because it wasn't, for whatever reason, thinning out enough for her head to start coming through. So that, I don't remember what that felt like, but that did help. And I don't think she was born in the sac, because my daughter, who was born before her, 8.5 years before, was actually, she came out quite quickly, and she was being held in because I did go to a hospital because we couldn't afford to have a midwife. And that was a whole nother experience I'll talk about at another time. But this was a much better experience. It was just, I literally had to tell them because I kept pushing and I was like, something's not right, So then they found out that the effacement wasn't complete, and they helped with that process. And then she came out. And so she was born. I asked her actually last night because I couldn't remember the exact minute. And I know she probably knows for like checking her astrology chart and whatnot and her birth certificate and all that she's seen, that it was 12:27. So they might have been there like an hour and a half with me. And she was born and she was healthy. She might have been the same as me, 8 pounds, 9 ounces, which is pretty big for a baby. And today is her birthday, and it's my birthday too. So anyways, I wanted to just, give that experience. And her name ended up being Shayla Rose. And Shayla was a Celtic name that I found that meant oak tree. And when I was in labor, there was a big oak tree outside the room that I kept looking out this big window and seeing this oak tree. And I just remember finding that name. I think it may have been spelled differently or it can be spelled different ways, but it is a Celtic name that is a very ancient name. And I hadn't really heard of it before, well, at least spelled in the way I spelled it. I always liked the name Shay. I don't think it's super common, but I love it. I think it's a beautiful name. And Shayla Rose, that is her name. And she's very beautiful. And I posted a little something on TikTok today, and, contributing to her day. And she loves TikTok. So thank you so much for listening to my little birthing story. And I will be doing an episode next week on the love for bees. I think I'm calling it The Giving Bee, because bees give so much to us and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. And so I have a lot to talk about with the bees. And I also have an upcoming episode on hair health for men and women and things that we can do that are healthy for our scalp and our hair. We have many good episodes that are about anything and everything related to natural wellness and healing. I love you all. Have a beautiful January. Let's stay strong and love one another. Be well. Thank you all so very much for listening today. I genuinely hope that you learned something, and I invite you to join me each week so you never miss a conscious wellness beat. This podcast holds a special place in my heart dedicated to my evolution here, my passionate mission to spread more consciousness for the much needed wellness on Earth. Come join me as a guest as well. Let's collaborate, making change for future generations.